Welcome to ManifestHer, a conversation series for female entrepreneurs and leaders. I am your host, Quadeera Teart, ManifestHer Coach and Brand Engineer, teaching female entrepreneurs how to upgrade their beliefs, cultivate growth, package their ideas, and increase visibility. That was so cool. Hi, everybody. It's me, Quadeera Teart. I can't wait to get started in this conversation with a fantastic woman that I've known since high school, actually. We've shared a course or two that had a lot to do with the woman I am today. And I'm sure that's going to come up because I have some favorite teachers that we might have in common, and they really, shaped who I am today. So I'm excited to be talking to none other than Lizzie Zayas. Let me be your fan club. Woo!
I am a huge fan of yours. So, you do amazing things. I love watching you.
Thank you. Lizzie, I'm so excited. Let me tell you why I asked you to come on and speak with me tonight. It was because I just felt like you popped up out of nowhere. And I know it was a journey and a transformation, but I feel like you popped up out of nowhere one day and I just started seeing you all over my feed, on my Facebook feed, on my stories. And I was like, what? Is that the same Lizzie from high school? What is going on? And I know that you can do tons of things to lose weight. But what I wondered about was, what was the click in the mind that happened for you that said, this is it. I'm dedicated and I'm going to do this. So let's start there.
A lot of things clicked, but being a mom, in your late 30s, obviously brings its own challenges. And my mom, I've talked about it a couple of times in some of my stories and some of my posts, that my mom had 2 heart attacks before the age of 55. So that's pretty scary. She's a diabetic as well. Mm-hmm. And I just remember how scary it was as a teenager, being 18 and then 22, I think, when she had her second one. Mm-hmm. I remember being 22, and that was when she had their quadruple bypass, sitting in the waiting room with my dad. And I'm literally making plans on, if my mom doesn't make it out of the operating table, what am I going to do with my dad? How am I going to take care of him? How am I going to get him to keep living? And I just remember that clear as day. And my husband is older than I am. So, add that to the fact that I'm already, I had my daughter when I was 35. I just felt like everything was against me. A lot of cards were stacked against me. And I just figured, I was like, something has to work. So when I started, I said, you know what, this is where I'm going to start. And the only promise I'm going to make to myself is that if it doesn't work, I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to change lanes and I'm just going to keep going. But I'm going to try it and I'm going to see where it gets me. And it's not easy. Nothing you do in life is easy. The other day I was talking to somebody, I said, think about a baby when they first start walking.
Right.
How many times do they cry? How many times do they fall until they get up and they can finally just walk? Yeah. And keep going without stumbling or anything. And that's kind of how this journey is just, I didn't tell anybody when I started. I had done a little bit of research. I actually started with keto. I did a little bit of research and I made a plan for myself. And I basically made a commitment. I said, okay, when I'm done, when I lose my first 10 pounds, I will sit down with my family and talk to them and tell them what I'm doing and tell them what my plan is, and kind of get them on board. But I have to do things for myself first, and I have to figure it out without input from the outside world. So I just had to I started cutting out like different meals, and I was changing my husband's diet too, and he wasn't even noticing it at the beginning.
They just want to eat.
Yeah, yeah, they just want to eat. So after I lost the first 10 pounds, my husband's a big enabler, a huge enabler. Mm-hmm. So I had to sit down and talk to him and be like, if you offer me something and I tell you no, you're going to have to accept no. And if you don't want to eat what I'm eating, I will keep stuff stocked in the fridge and the freezer so that we can have, other options and stuff. But this is what I'm going to stick to, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I just want you to be supportive of it. Was all it was. And it just chipped away, it was little bits and pieces, but that was the beginning part of it. I did have to get off of keto because when I went in January for my blood work, I was all excited. I think I had lost like 60 pounds or something at that point, 70 pounds at that point. Mm-hmm. And I was like super thrilled, super excited. And they called me and they're like, oh, your cholesterol's a little high. Or a lot high.
What's keto all about, really?
And keto is a high-fat diet, low carb. So I was sticking to 20 carbs or less a day. There is a better way to do it, but at the beginning you are very reliant on the fat to keep you full. So if you had a choice essentially between a tomato or cheese, you usually went for the cheese instead of the tomato because the cheese has no carbs. Right. Which in retrospect, I mean, no wonder my cholesterol was high, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I'm grateful for keto because it gave me a tool that I needed, and it taught me like what worked and what didn't work for me. So let me just back up a little bit. I have always eaten salads. I've always been a good veggie eater, lean proteins, but I couldn't get it off. Like, I would lose 5 pounds and gain 10, or even lose 30 and gain 50. So, one of my things was at night after having a balanced dinner, I was starving. 8 o'clock would roll around and I felt like I hadn't eaten a thing. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I felt like I was broken. And I've talked about that in my stories where I felt broken. Like my body was broken. Like my metabolism just wasn't working. I'm like, I'm eating vegetables, I'm eating salads, I'm not eating, these things. So what's going on? And that's why I had gone with keto, because they had said that a lot of times the carbs is essentially that sugar is what makes you crave more food down the line. So I started one meal at a time, removing, bread, pasta, potatoes, all of that. I started removing it one meal at a time when I started. So I did 1 week, no carbs at breakfast. I think I may have started breakfast, lunch, and then dinner. I think it's how I did it because I needed my husband to kind of catch on to it at the end. So I think I did breakfast, lunch, and dinner is how I did it. So 1 week I cut out carbs from breakfast. Second week I did breakfast and lunch. And then third week was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so even now at dinner time, I really won't eat rice or pasta or anything unless I'm craving it. And if I feel that I need it to keep me going for the next day and not to binge eat. I was an emotional eater and a binge eater. My husband used to work nights. When he switched to days, it definitely got a lot better where I wasn't having anxiety or just being by myself. That was before we had our daughter. So there was that, we tend to find comfort in food.
Yeah. So
But
let me ask you a few things you talked about. You talked about emotional eating.
yeah,
You talked about your jump start, what you started with, the keto diet. And then, but one of the things you also said that struck me was you didn't tell people about what you were doing at first.
yeah.
Why was that so important for you to not tell people versus a lot of people who go the route of telling everyone when they're first starting out?
I think you know, after going through so many failures of, you know, trying different things and it not working,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't want to be a disappointment to somebody else. You know, being a disappointment to yourself is one thing, but being a disappointment to somebody else or thinking that they're going to think any less of you because you weren't successful at something, I think that that's harder on you as a person versus, you know, you failing yourself. So nobody knows, did you really fail?
Right, right, right.
You know? And that was why I
That's
did
true
it.
because if I go in the kitchen and eat rice, Babe will be the first one to be like, "I thought you said you wasn't eating rice." Man, I'm having a moment. Can I have this rice right now? But for the most part, I don't eat rice. But occasionally, like you said, my body needs something, especially if alcohol has been involved the night before. Rice is the first thing I'm reaching for. I need rice
Sticky
right
rice. Sticky
now.
rice.
Yeah, the sticky rice.
Sticky rice.
Exactly. Um, the other thing that you talked about was how you got your family involved later on. So, what was that like? Did you get your mom involved?
Yeah.
Is she going
Um,
now?
so I started last year like in the middle of August. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously that was like peak going into the holiday season when I was full blown in. So I sat down with
You
my,
only started this last August?
yeah.
What? I thought this was like, what?
No, I only started in August and I have documentation to prove it.
Wow. And did you also start so we know that you changed how you eat or how you ate, but did you also start working out at that same time or did that come later?
That came later.
Hmm.
And the working out came not out of wanting to lose weight. The working out came out of the pandemic and the frustration of being locked in a house with a toddler, a full time job. My husband was working 70 hours a week, being cook, maid, like, you know,
Mhm.
confidant and like everything in between. And I was angry. I was really upset and I was having a little bit of anxiety, which I'm not a super anxious person. So just waking up and feeling that way, like I could feel it all through my neck and everything. It's like I gotta do something, and I have been paying for my Beachbody on Demand for 2 years. I never used it
Really?
until
Is that a
maybe
monthly subscription or
uh, you can do annually, quarterly,
okay.
or it's every 6 months.
Okay.
Um, and May 8th, I just pressed play, and that was it for me. I was hooked. I felt instantly. I felt better, and then
May 2020.
yeah,
And so you got those arms from May till now November. Those arms happen like that, girl. You just gave me hope.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that's what I want to talk about. It seems like you every time you just made a decision. But what made this decision these times different than all the other times? Because that's what people really struggle with. I struggle with that too. We all do. Like, what made this decision different than any other decision?
I didn't have an end game. I
Mm.
didn't have an end game. The goal for me was get me out of being at high risk for a heart attack,
Mm.
get me out of high risk for being a diabetic, Nobody knows this. I don't even think my husband knows, but I was suffering from really bad heel spurs in the morning. Especially when we would go out, we were big Disney people. And when we would go on our Disney vacations, after the first day at the park, the next day I'd have to wake up like an hour before everybody else to massage my feet to be able to touch the ground from how bad it was. My sciatica was killing me, and it was a lot of things that I didn't realize all, kind of came together to my weight.
Right.
And I was feeling, people ask me and I tell them, I'm like, I was feeling good. Like I felt, we joked even with my perinatologist that I was a healthy fat person. I felt good. I really didn't have any complaints. I could walk. I, could do a treadmill.
Right.
But compared to what I feel now, I felt like I was dying before. I can remember how I felt, and I'm like, how did that feel good? But that was just my normal. That was just my normal. That is what I grew to accept. That was it for me. And kids are amazing, and they kind of change your outlook on things, and they get you to want more for yourself for them, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
And I really didn't want my child to, from when she was a baby, Catalina eats a lot of vegetables and fruits, and she's a really good eater. She never really ate anything out of a can or anything like that. But I wasn't doing it for me. So, it got to a point where it was like, I have to teach her, and I have to fix my relationship with food as well, so she doesn't have the same issues when she's growing up that I did. I mean, I remember as young as 8 years old, stealing, sneaking the sleeves of the club crackers, and the tub of butter, and sitting on the side of the bed on the floor, eating those. And that was
loved butter. My sister, my little sister, I don't have an older sister. My little sister, when she was younger, oh my gosh, she used to gross me out. She would go and sneak in the refrigerator and just eat butter.
Well,
it was like, dude, that's disgusting. Butter? Like, who just sits there and eats butter? Now she thinks it's gross, but then she thought it was just so yummy, and I'm like, I can't.
but even some of the things that like mass marketed foods and stuff, if you go without it long enough and you start cooking more often, when you go back to that, it is not nearly as enjoyable as when you're just like shoveling in your mouth. You're actually like, that is actually not satisfying at all.
It's true. It's true. So I've always been pretty much a healthy person. Prior to having children, I was like on my A game. I would run 5 miles a day, and I was a vegan. I would only eat I was a vegetarian first, and then I worked my way up to being vegan. But before being vegan, I would really only eat like fish and salad and those kind of things. But before you have a family, you really have time to take care of yourself. You don't have anyone else that you're trying to take care of. So having children, that made the journey a little bit more challenging. And then my second daughter, I tell people, it's really funny. My second daughter came with a man, and they have another set of needs and wants as far as like food goes and that kind of thing. And so that was an adjustment as well, because if there was ever a night I didn't feel like cooking with my first daughter, I'll just say, Naira, tonight we're having peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with broccoli on the side, and I would be done. That would be it, right? But I can never do that with having a whole like family with children and a man because they want like food. When I'm making a salad for myself, he's like, I know that's not what you're going to give me. And I'm like, okay, I guess not. That's fine. So we eat totally different, like completely different.
Yeah.
But you talked about being an emotional eater, and I'm almost convinced that most of the world is emotional eaters, are emotional eaters, but maybe I'm wrong.
Again, going back to mass media, it's just how it's marketed, you know, that eat this and you'll feel better kind of thing. And we are living in a time of instant gratification. Like we want it now. We want to be skinny now. We want flat stomach now. We want to feel good right away. You know, how many people watch, 1 hour shows?
Right.
Full time, or even a premiere that's 2 hours long. Nobody watches that anymore. You don't want to see commercials. You want it right now. So you usually wait to watch it on demand, or when it's recorded that you can fast forward.
Right.
Because we just want that instant gratification, and we don't want to wait for, the good stuff. We don't want to work for a better, more worthy gratification, I should say.
Long lasting.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the downfall is with anything that we do in life.
Right.
The work, we just cut corners everywhere that we can, and at the end of the day, we're actually hurting ourselves more than we're benefiting.
And that's what I was going to say before, is that since my life has changed, my husband actually does not ever eat out. So he has taught me to only cook, because I am the queen of eating out, not eating out like at McDonald's and places like that. I love to go out to restaurants, and I enjoy brunch on Sundays at a nice restaurant. I enjoy, going out for drinks with friends and colleagues. Like, I enjoy that type of entertainment. That is me. That is my life. But he will eat before he goes out. And I'm like, ugh, that's boring. So he will always eat a meal before he goes out so that he doesn't have to eat while he's out. And so I realized actually that has been saving my life. That has helped me so much more. And the more I study nutrition, the more I study health, and I see the way that they hide the things that we think we're avoiding by like eating salads and stuff. The best way for you to avoid all of the sugar, all of the salt, is really for you to just cook your food at home, because you know what you're putting in it versus, eating out. You never really know what's in it.
You can eat pizza. You can, and even going out, like I'm a restaurant person. I love being cooked for. Just because but when you start to cook, you start to appreciate it more. So going to, your run of the mill places, I'm like, I'm not paying $15 for a hamburger that I could have made at home for a quarter of the price and it more flavor.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things, and definitely eating, before the Saturday night, we went to a 50th birthday party, and I ate before I went. I made something that I liked, that I was going to enjoy. So I stood at the food table chat, like where all the food was set up. I was chatting with people, and I was literally standing there, and I put one thing in my mouth the entire night, aside from wine. And back in the day, I would have like circled it, made a plate, walked out, made sure I was in front of a different group of people every time I had a plate in front of me. Making sure nobody would actually see how much I was eating throughout the whole night.
Man, this is real, Lizzie. This is so.
But that's what it is. You just when your food stops revolving, when your life stops revolving around food and you find gratification in other things, you know, everything kind of starts to fall into place, and you learn to pick what you like to eat and when. You know, there's times when I don't know why I feel there's this one dish I make with curry chicken, I think it is, with cashews on it, and it's got roasted peppers and stuff. And that to me is like a super indulging dish, like really indulging. So when I'm in the mood, when I feel like I'm gonna crash and burn, then I'm just gonna, you know, I could shove an entire pizza down or big bowl of pasta. I usually go for one of those. And one of my other favorite dishes is like pizza pasta that I make, which is with zoodles. And then I take all the pizza toppings and I just put it in a bowl. You kind of like figure out what is the equivalent to whatever it is that you're craving at that moment. You know, what's the healthier option for you? There's a lot of haters out there. There's people that talk about intuitive eating, or, you know, diets don't work. And while I agree that a lot of the diets don't work, at the same time, if you intuitively eat a hamburger every day, or a loaf of Cuban bread every day, or a full sleeve of Oreo crackers every day, or Oreo cookies every day, let's be real, you know, what the outcome's going to be. So you have to find a balance depending on what your life goals are, what your daily goals are. You know, we went away and I thoroughly enjoyed my trip. And this trip was a lot different than my other ones when I first started on this journey, where I would like calculate. I'm like, okay, when I get back, I have to do an egg fast and I have to do this and I can't eat. And it was all of this like bargaining with myself and this guilt. And like, okay, I have to, instead of doing the egg fast for 3 days, I have to do it for 5 days. And don't ever do the egg fast.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah. You can Google it and find information about it. I do not recommend it. It's just not a good alternative. And
it doesn't even sound appealing.
It was rough, but again, it was me bargaining with myself. It was me. I still hadn't fixed my relationship with food at the beginning of this. I was still using food as like punishment. You know, I was just, you know, if I eat this, then I can't eat the next day, or I have to fast and all of this stuff. And I like fasting. Fasting comes in really handy on some days because it resets you. But you know, things like an egg fast, there's no nutritional value behind that. You're not really doing anything for yourself or your body. You're actually hurting yourself. That's different today. I mean, I got back yesterday and I went straight to the grocery store. I knew what we were having for dinner. I had already, we're all living together now. This quarantine has like brought us together. So we took a leap and everybody's living together. So I made a plan with my mom before, you know, about what we were going to have for dinner Wednesday night or last night. And I made sure I had my veggies. I made sure that I had my salad. And I made a plan for today.
Let me pause you though. Hold on, because we got to have a moment here, because we live in South Florida and you're Cuban, right?
Yes.
So we got Cubans, we got Haitians, we got Jamaicans, we got all kind of rice and bean eaters. So do you still avoid the rice and beans?
I swap. Most of the time, I swap out the rice for cauliflower rice.
Okay. I like cauliflower rice.
Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like it, but if you learn how to make it to the texture that you want it and learn how to season it, it is, I mean, a very close replacement for rice. And again, that's just me. I eat rice and I'm starving 2 hours later, you know, or less. So I try and stay away from it. That's just my personal choice. Other people can have rice and they're fine. Right. That's not my case. So my mom, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's arroz con garbanzos, which it's rice, white rice with saffron, garbanzo beans, and sofrito, which is like the onion and pepper mix that they do. So all that combined, and you eat a big bowl of that with whatever protein. Usually
that sounds so good. I wish we had some cauliflower now.
Yeah, some ham chunks. So when my mom made that, I got home and I said, okay, that looks really good, and I can't not eat some of that. So I took cauliflower rice and I said, let's try it. What's the worst that can happen is that it doesn't taste good and I'm not going to eat it and I have to eat something else, you know? So that's what I did. I just threw some cauliflower rice on the pan, took all the other ingredients that it takes, and I sauteed it all together, and it was the bomb. It was so good. It was definitely an instant comfort dish. Right. Where I was like, okay, on a cold winter night, I could definitely just eat a bowl of this.
I think the comfort dishes might actually just be what we're looking for is the flavor. I challenge people to pay attention to that your comfort dishes are really just about the flavor. So if you can take that flavor and put it with something else, then you might just be good to go. So Lizzie, before we let you go, I have to know, what are your habits, your routines, your practices that help you stay focused, help you stay in the game? And I know you have a coaching group too, right?
Yeah. So I have an accountability group, and that definitely helps, but nothing replaces your personal purpose and your personal routine and your habits. You know, I have to get up every morning and choose whether I'm going to do it or not, because at the end of the day, I could post in my group, yep, got my workout in, and splash some water in my face, and that's just not the and that's just not gonna work. So you have to first commit to yourself that you're gonna show up, which is what I've done. Is I just wanted to feel better every day. So I started working out. I wake up first thing in the morning and I get my workout in, especially now that I'm back at the office. I'm up and I have to wake up super early. I'm up usually between 4:30 and 4:45. I'm up in the morning. And I get my mind ready, I get dressed, and I get my workout done, and I set timers. So basically,
you go to the gym. Are you working out outside?
At home. The program that I'm doing right now has runs, so you know I have to plan my runs accordingly. That way to make sure that I'm back home in time. But the last program I was doing was just 30 minutes. There's even a 20-minute one, a 10-minute one. It really doesn't matter what you do. You know, I'm actually reading this book, Atomic Habits, and he talks about starting in 2-minute increments. So like if you want to work out,
Atomic
Habits. He talks about like if you want to go to the gym, how you just start by putting your shoes on and going to the kitchen and filling your water bottle up. So it's a 2-minute activity. And then you build up to getting to the gym and making things more convenient. So like tonight when I get off of here, I'm going to go and prep my Energize, which is my pre-workout that I drink. And I love that stuff.
Is that the one in the little,
I don't think I sent you that one. I didn't have to sample that one. I will get you one though.
Where do you buy Energize from?
You can send me a message and I can get you on my site, and I will send you a little cart that you can buy your Energize. But a lot of people call that their mommy juice, and that is how they clean their house. I'm a coffee drinker, so difference between Energize and coffee is you can drink that and you're much more clear-headed and focused. And I've done my workouts with it and without it. And I definitely have more intensity behind my workouts when I drink my Energize.
Yeah.
But on days where I'm dragging and I just want to be more focused and more clear-headed, I can also drink that, and that helps me. Versus you don't get that same crash that you do when you drink coffee.
That's why I don't drink coffee as much. It's because I have a crash, and what happens for me at the end of the crash, honestly, is that I go and raid the entire kitchen. And so I don't think that a lot of people who are coffee drinkers, because again, back to like the whole intuitive eating thing, the intuition part of paying attention to what you eat is so important, because you will be aware of some of the habits. It's not just going to be for what you eat. It's going to flow into all parts of your life, because you will become aware, oh my God, when I drink coffee, coffee is what's helping me go in the kitchen and grab everything, because it, I don't know what it's doing exactly, but I know that it's pumping a lot of energy into you. But one of the things you talked about that I want to go back to is this book, Atomic Habits, and he talks about doing things in 2-minute increments. That is the reason why, one of the reasons why I love yoga so much. So like, I'm a yogi and I do yoga almost every day. But
I used to not like it, and I am such a fan of it. When I need a reset, that is what I go to.
Yoga is, I could do like a whole session on yoga. It's amazing. But in yoga, there is something called like just showing up to your mat. Like, sometimes I tell people, they're like, oh, I can't do all of that. I'm like, just take the first step, which is just show up on the mat. That's all you got to do. If you can show up on the mat, you've won half the battle, just showing up on your mat.
I couldn't lift a 5-pound weight over my head for 30 seconds when I started in May. I couldn't, not even for 30 seconds. It was my own, my own weight, and it hurt. It was painful. It didn't, in that moment, it didn't feel good. But I was doing it for the after effect. So I wasn't so concerned with how I was feeling there.
Yeah.
Right there in the moment. But if you can get past the first 7 days of doing something, and then you go into the next 7 days, if you look at things in a smaller block, it becomes easier. And when you reset your goals so that you don't have an end game every time, it's also helpful, because a lot of people, what happens is they say, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, well, what are you going to do after you lose the 10 pounds? What are you going to do after you lose 50? What are you going to do to help you keep that weight off, if that's what your goal is? Or, okay, you're going to eat healthier. Well, what do you need to do? Look at your fridge, look at your pantry. What do you have to change? How are you going to make things more accessible? On Mondays, I pack a giant lunchbox, and I pretty much pack everything that I'm going to need for the week for work, for lunch. So it's already there. I always keep a pack of, I keep 2 cans of tuna at my desk for emergencies. I keep little mustard packets, a can of garbanzo beans, things that are non-perishable, that I can be my go-to. We have a freezer, so I have like a bag of edamame in there. But Mondays I take advantage, and I pack everything in my lunchbox that I'm going to need for the week, and I don't have to think about it every day. Taking little steps out of the process is helpful, because when you have to think about something too much, it's like, okay, well, forget it. That was too hard. I'm not going to do it. But if you have things that are easily accessible to you, it becomes easy to eat better, to make a better choice.
Right.
Books, I'm not a big reader. Picking up a book and sitting there to read it is really difficult for me. I have to put a lot of thought to it. So I started with Audible, and I pick and choose the times of the day when I'm going to set aside to do my reading, to listen to my book on tape. And typically it's on my way back home in the afternoons. And now I'm slowly I was trying to do 3-minute meditations, and I haven't built up to that. So I'm going to go to the 2 minutes. that that I read about in Atomic Habits, and I'm just going to set the timer for 2 minutes and start with physically reading a book, because Audible is great, but I need to physically open a book and read it. And anything you do in life, anything you do in life, you just have to keep at it. It's difficult. Going back to what I said at the beginning, a baby doesn't just start walking, out of the womb. It takes time, and they have to grow, and there's different motions that they have to develop in order to get to the walking part of it. And that's the same thing with this. The program I couldn't have done, like, the first program I did was 21 Day Fix Extreme in May. That laid the foundation for me to do MBF. And then MBF laid the foundation for this running program that I'm doing now, which, are you kidding me? If you would have told me 5 years ago I would be running and training for a 5K, I would have told you you're crazy, that you've lost your mind. Even 3 months ago, I would have told you you've lost your mind.
Wow, you're training for a 5K?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is so exciting.
And let me tell you, I don't know if you've watched my stories about this program, the running program. I am a person who buries her feelings. Like, I will literally put them down into the pits and, keep pushing them down until eventually it explodes. Running does not allow you to do that. It does not. It comes out. I mean, whatever you're feeling that day, you literally drop it in the pavement as you're going. Running does not allow you to let any of that stuff stay down. And that has been something I feel very freeing. My best friend can tell you, my husband can, most people can tell you that I definitely am a little more relaxed. I am a control freak, which we do have a program coming out that's called 9-Week Control Freak, which I'm excited about. But I'm a control freak. And while I still need to be in control of a lot of things, I'm more laid back about how I control things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
you said that you tried a bunch of things before, and you and your doctor used to joke about you being
a healthy fat
person. And there's something that I've really been learning about people and really studying people more in depth this year, and studying myself more in depth last year first, always starting with myself first. But there's that saying that people have where they're like, oh, you don't know how good, something like that, you don't know how good it feels until something. And then I realized that that's the opposite, because it's really that you don't know how bad you felt until you actually feel better.
Yeah.
You really just don't know. And last week, my mom, she would be so mad at me for talking about this, but I got to tell somebody. So last week, my mom, she was in this huge amount of pain. I mean, the way she was going on and on the phone, you would have thought that this was it for her. So I got up late Sunday night, went down there to see what was going on with her. And something she said really struck me, Lizzie. And this is what I think is holding a lot of people back in multiple circumstances, not just weight loss. And I identified it in myself a couple of years ago before my last baby. And that was, I said to my mom, I was trying to teach her some yoga moves for her arm, for her shoulder, because that's what was really killing her. That's what was really upsetting her. Not killing her, but upsetting her. And I tried to get her to do all these different moves, showing her how she needs to detox and all of this stuff. And she said something to me that made me say, Mom, you do know that there are people your age in their 60s who are like running marathons and lifting weights and running 5 miles a day, you do know that these people exist. You do know that you don't have to live like this as you get older. And this is what happened, Lizzie. You ready?
Oh gosh, what did she tell
She
you?
looked at me and she goes, nah. And I said, yeah. And she goes, nah. Because her favorite thing to say is, a lot of people's favorite thing to say is, I can't do all that. I can't do all that. And so that reminded me of a story of when I was doing yoga a couple of years ago. My friend Jen Benoit was having this coaching session, her and my first ever personal yoga instructor, Nzinga Onusan. I never know if I say her last name right, but my first personal instructor, Nzinga. You guys can find her at Yes Baby, I Like It Raw. She was showing me how to do a headstand. And I remember telling her, I can't do that. Do you see what size I am? I cannot do that. And she was like, you can and you will. The only thing I need you to do is trust me. And I remember she taught me in that moment how to do a headstand. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I went home and I was like, I wonder if I can do it at home by myself. I did it at home by myself. And the next day and the day after that, I went all the way across town to Georgia at a speaking engagement and stood on my head on stage for these ladies because I was so amazed that I had told myself all this time, I had limited myself.
Limiting beliefs.
At what I thought I could
Limiting
do,
beliefs.
at what I thought I could achieve. And I could have done it the whole time had I just removed my fear and got a little bit of help. So now I could do a headstand all day long.
And there's things that you're going to have difficulty with that you might not be able to do perfect. But if you can modify it or push yourself a little bit further, then that's what you should be doing. And if you're struggling with something that you really maybe want to conquer, you have to practice it every day. A musician, a piano player doesn't become a piano player overnight.
Yeah.
They have to practice it every single day. It's the same thing with anything that you do in life. Eating healthy. Yeah, at the beginning, it's work. You have to change your habits. Getting up every morning to work out, you have to change your habits, and you have to get, it kind of transition from some days I don't have the motivation and the discipline has to kick in, so you have to teach yourself those disciplines and what you're going to prioritize in whatever you do. There's one move in MBF in the second round. It's called Muscle Burns Fat Advanced, and it was a front sit through. So week 2 was side sit-throughs, and I was super ecstatic that I could do those. And here we go, week 3, and I could not do these front sit-throughs to save my life. And I still have a difficult time with it because I don't have like the range of motion in my hips. But I'm going to come back to those, and I'm going to work on them, and I'm going to conquer them some way, somehow, just like I've conquered being able to plank. Can I plank all the time for periods of time, or can I do regular push-ups all the time? No. On arm day, if I do arm day and then the next day we're supposed to be doing push-ups and planks, it's like, in modified position because my arm can't hold me.
Give yourself some grace. That's so beautiful.
Give yourself some grace.
Yeah, give yourself some grace.
Don't give up. I injured my shoulder. I did. I think it was actually the side sit through with a weighted twist, and I did injure myself. And I could have thrown in the towel right then and there. I could have thrown in the towel, and I said, no, I'm going to stretch it out. And going back to what you said about your mom is, we don't realize that sometimes we have to kind of go through a little bit more pain to get the relief. Mind blown. So I had to stretch. I had to stretch 3 times a day for 3 days in, doing exercises to pull those muscles to make sure that I was getting my range of motion back, making sure that I was repairing what I needed to do. My nutrition had to be on point too. Like I had to do a lot of things, and I was back on track in 3 days. I was in no longer pain. I didn't do anything external. As for maybe I think I may have taken aspirin one day, but and I had to stretch. There was this one move where you hang low, you're holding opposite elbows and, swinging that way. I had tears running down my face because it was painful, but it wasn't painful like I was getting hurt. I want to make sure that people understand that there's a difference between like making your injury worse and actually helping yourself recover. When you're sore, like example, the rollouts, doing a rollout can be very painful.
Yeah.
But there's relief that comes after it. But so many times we don't want to get hurt. Just like at the beginning of my journey, I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want to fail.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the same. It's all the same. We're so afraid of, being hurt, failure, of all of these things that we set all these self-limiting beliefs and don't know how to get out of it. It's like, well, I could never lose 10 pounds before, or, or I want the quick fix. So we tend to go to the quick fix instead of putting in the work and showing up consistently. I mean, we sold a house went through the pandemic. My husband's father died through all of this.
About that.
Yeah, I mean, we went through a lot, and I chose to show up every day, not my goal was bigger than weight loss. My goal was bigger than the physical component of it. And I reaped the benefits all the way around because I changed what my priorities were and why I was doing something. And I looked at the bigger picture. And when I worked out, I felt better. I didn't feel like I was drowning, in life and whatever was going on. And
so good, man. I really do love these conversations with people. So you're the first of my ManifestHer Conversation Series for YouTube and Facebook. And I thought this was a really dynamic conversation. I hope that all the people that will watch it when I release it, I hope that they'll enjoy it just as much. And I definitely think that when you get ready to go and do that 5K, we'll need to have another conversation and hear about that journey.
Yeah.
So good. So good. Oh man, you blew my mind with that pain and relief statement. So I'm going to
think about anything that we do in life. Forget about weight loss, forget about lifting weights. Anything that we do, we don't want to feel the pain. And a lot of times we have to go through the pain. Going through school to get a diploma, it's painful. Going through an interview and getting judged by a stranger is painful. Like all of those things, but you eventually reap the benefits of it if you keep at it.
So what's the one final thing that if you wanted someone to take away anything from this conversation tonight, what is that one thing that you want that person who may be you today, who you were last August, what would you say to them?
You are not broken.
Oh, so good.
You are not broken. Nothing is wrong with you. Just, you have to figure out what's going to work for you. You have to prioritize and ask for help too. I did the journey by myself a lot of the way until I started to let more people in and stuff. And there are toxic people. I was part of toxic keto groups and I had to exit out of those. I am still part of one because I still do follow some of the things. So I have a friend of mine, Mindy, who I follow her, and she shares a bunch of great recipes on there. Fill your cup and your circle with people that benefit you, not people that drain you. You know, you want people that are gonna fill you up with hope and goodness and stuff like that, and surround yourself with that. And if I'm not, I may not be it for other people. Find your people then. No, nobody said you have to stick to one thing, to one person or anything like that. That's why I like our coach network, is that, you can pick who you want to be a part of. We are a team fierce to the core. That was just fierce kept popping up on when I started posting stuff. That was just a comment that kept coming up on my comments. And my best friend and I, we just kind of ran with that. And that is what we are.
I really love that. Fierce to the core. Okay. So you gave everyone 3 last nuggets that I think are amazing, 3 golden nuggets. And so I just want to reiterate for you all. And that is 1, oh crap, I forgot the first one. No,
don't give up on you're not broken.
No, 1 was you're not broken.
You're not broken.
Number 2 was ask for help. And then number 3 was fill your cup. Fill your cup with people who are going to support you, who are going to be with you and fill you with hope, fill you with that inspiration and motivation you need, which goes all the way back to how we first started the conversation with being mindful of toxic people or toxic conversations. Toxic doesn't mean that the people are bad people, y'all. You're not saying they bad people. They just may not be who you need at this time in your life to do the thing you need to do.
And there are people that you can talk about certain things about your life with, and some people that you can't. So there are certain people that I can talk to about this journey, and it's very easy. And there's other people where I have to stay completely away from, because it can become very, very toxic conversation, and nobody gets anywhere. So if I still want those people in my life, I have to pick and choose what conversations I have with those people.
So Lizzie, how can, well, let me also ask you this other last question. This is for all my PACE peoples. Who was your favorite teacher in high school?
Oh gosh, Miss Toledo.
Whoop, whoop.
First, no question there. Come on.
I don't know where she is in the world, but I mention her all the time so much that she really shifted and changed my life. And I just think to myself, how wonderful, how dynamic to know that there was a period in your life. I mean, I don't know what she's doing now, but that there was a period in your life that
school to be an attorney.
Yeah, that you impacted a group of people so much that they still talk about you to this day, about how you molded and shaped them. Like, oh my God.
Everything she did with passion. Everything.
She sure did.
Never, even on her bad, like
even saying hi.
Yeah. It was just
was like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
oh my God.
She was definitely one of my favorites.
Okay. All right. So that wraps us up. I do want to give you the opportunity to, or give folks the opportunity to find out how they can reach you, how they can get inside of this, the fierce what?
Fierce to the core. Team Fierce to the
core. Okay. So, on my red pumps and let's go.
Yep. My Instagram is Lizzie Zayas. I think it's just really simple. Or on my Facebook page, Coach Lizzie Z. I don't post in there as often because it's really difficult to post to both Instagram and Facebook when you also have a full-time job. But I try and post some stuff on there. But Instagram,
too.
Yeah. It's linked to my we're gonna have to talk separately about that. But it's linked to my personal page right now. So but it's my Instagram is public. They can find me on there. They can direct message me. I can drop my email address in the comments as well once you link this. And they can reach out to me that way. You can always give them my contact information, link them up, and I will get them hooked up with a sampler. Hopefully you enjoyed your samples I sent you.
So you know what? I did not start my samplers yet. I said I was going to, because my mind,
I know.
Your mind getting in your way. Yeah. I have this idea that I want to start it when I'm like fresh up in the morning, ready. And
that is the biggest mistake. That is the biggest mistake we make.
I know.
Last thing I'm gonna say. How many times do we say, I'll just wait till tomorrow. I'll just wait till dinner. I'll just wait till next week. I'll just wait till after the holidays.
Yeah.
Always. That's all.
And it's not like I haven't been having smoothies every day. But I haven't been the one making them. It's been my daughter because I've been so busy. So I literally could tell her, I have them sitting right there next to the NutriBullet. I could literally tell her, can you go drop this inside of the smoothie for me? So first thing in the morning, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have my first smoothie.
Put a Post-it note on it tonight for your daughter and say, please add this to my smoothie. And I think I gave you some recipe tips, right?
Yeah. She'll do it. It's just me. I haven't told her to do it, so she'll do it. All right, y'all. Listen, I want to thank Lizzie again for coming on to the first of the ManifestHer Conversation Series. I hope that you guys will join us back here. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook Live. This was streaming everywhere tonight. And we're going to keep doing this so that we can help female leaders, female entrepreneurs upgrade their beliefs, okay? Upgrade our belief systems, cultivate an environment of growth within us and around us. We need to surround ourselves with this positive belief system, and it's not just magic woohoo talk. Like we're capable of it. We can do it. And then also helping you package all those ideas that you have about the woman that you want to become and ways that you can reach her, and also increase your visibility, because it ain't no fun if the homies can't get none. If you're keeping it all to yourself on the inside and you don't let that light shine, what good is that for the rest of us? For you too. So
it's true.
That's what you'll find on ManifestHer Conversation Series. And we got some really, really dope stuff coming up soon that I'll be announcing. So again, to my guest, Lizzie, thank you. To everybody watching, thank you so much. Can't wait to see y'all back here again.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Bye.
Bye.